middle of a pandemic, right? And so everything's been transformed for us. And it's not lost on us that your experience is also transformed as well. And so um, what you're doing today is incredibly relevant for what you're going to be doing for the rest of your career. This pandemic has really accelerated what online work, online education will be for now and for the future. And so that you're taking some time today to participate in all our programming. We have a whole week of programming that, and we hope you're able to join as many sessions as you can. We have some great employers like NASA and NSA and others that will be participating in this program. And our goal is to give you a competitive advantage when you're recruiting and when you're interning with others that are also recruiting and interning with the same companies. And so I want to thank you all for joining us today in this virtual internship. And today the theme is the upside down. We've been sharing the themes with our employers. NASA in particular was very excited about some of the things that we're doing. And so I'm going to turn it over to Jessica Torres, who will be leading us on this first session. So thank you all so very much for joining us, and we look forward to continuing our partnership with you.
Thanks, Mario. Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to be here today. We're going to kick off our internship week with stranger internships. Just a friendly reminder, I know Rachel mentioned it earlier, but just as everybody's coming in, if we can just have everyone leave their ABC in the chat, send it privately to Tyra Allen, and we can go ahead and give y'all a copy of the recording as well. Okay, so how Mario has mentioned, this whole new virtual space and this whole shift has been kind of hectic. This is where we kind of played the whole upside down. So we just wanted to remind everyone that there are still opportunities out there for everybody. It's just, placing that time, getting the information on how to find them. Okay, so as I present to you all today, it's kind of be like a guide into this whole new virtual internships that we have occurring. So before we start, I want to go ahead and just mention that we will have monster encounters throughout this presentation. You can also call them checkpoints. So throughout this presentation, I've set up different strange monsters you can encounter in the upside down. And below each monster, there will be a question in regards to virtual internships. And it would be great if I had some volunteers to answer the questions with the new knowledge that I provide to everyone today. Okay, so let's actually get started. So first, a little bit about what virtual internships are. So of course, virtual internships are similar to internships you do in person, but they're simply from your home on your own laptop. There's no need for a commute or anything like that. And because it kind of takes away this factor of transportation, you are able to work with companies across the country, not necessarily just companies in your area. They also have same aspects as in traditional in-person internships, such as meetings with your supervisors, your teammates. You still complete individual or group projects. You still kind of get like that overall feel for the company culture. It's just simply all online. Something that I do want to mention to everyone is that with virtual internships, you're still able to get course credit as long as it's approved by your internship coordinator as well as your supervisor. And later this week, we're actually having a panel as part of Internship Week on Wednesday at 1 p.m. Where we'll have students, faculty, and employers as well that will talk a little bit about more in regards to course credit and internships. So if anyone is interested in that, I suggest y'all go ahead and register on Handshake. So before we kind of start seeking virtual internships, I think a good kind of first step would be identifying our career goals. So when you're trying to identify your career goals, a good questions to ask yourself are, what are some reasons for wanting to participate in an internship? What do I hope to accomplish during an internship? What skills do I want to use and improve? Answering these kind of questions will kind of give you a better idea of what you're striving towards and determine if you're ready to start seeking out a virtual internship. It will kind of narrow your options for once you begin searching for these internships. So say you've already identified your career goal, you can start actually seeking. And so the first step would be identifying an area of interest. I feel like this first step kind of plays into identifying your career goal, because once you've identified the career goal, you can start searching specific companies related to that goal, as well as industries and things like that. Um, so once you've identified that, you can go ahead and start utilizing resources that are available to you. So of course you have your search engines, which are different websites like Handshake, internships.com, interncoin.com, LinkedIn internships. One that I do want to emphasize on this list is virtual career fairs and events. Um, when you attend things like career fairs and events like this, you're getting more information about virtual internships and all these different opportunities that are available to you. So I think it's always a great idea to be involved when it comes to things like that. Um, then, of course, we have websites that allow you to kind of check a status on a specific internship. So for ismyinternshipcanceled.com, I think this search engine is really helpful when it comes to searching for a specific company. It can kind of help you decide what companies you want to go after. So for example, say you were interested in American Airlines and you searched every other search engine possible and you can't find anything. Um, if you were to go on is my internship canceled, it'll give you whether they're hiring, whether the internship process is suspended, or whether they're doing internships simply remote. So I think that's always a great resource you can use as well. Then we have more industry-specific search engines like professional organizations. Similar to attending virtual career fairs and events, it's important to involve yourself with associations that are related to your major or the specific field you're interested in. So I know on our Career Center website, we do have a resource titled, "What Can I Do with This Major?" And if you go on there, you can type in your specific major, and on that page, you can find professional organizations related to that major. When you kind of look through these different associations, I think it's always a good idea to attend things like panels and workshops. Um, During these events, of course, they're going to provide you with different resources and as well as even opportunities that may be available to students. So another resource that's available to students, I feel like a lot of people tend to forget at times that it's not necessarily something you can search online. There's always the people around you. So you should ask yourself, who can I connect with? Who's well knowledgeable on what I'm searching for? So of course you have your professors and advisors, career counselors. Um, they can go ahead and give you different resources, even point you to the right direction if you're lost when it comes to where to look and what you're looking for. So they're always someone you should consider to speak with. Then, of course, you have your UTSA alumni. Alumni have kind of been in your shoes at one point. And they've reached a point where they've already started their career in their professions. So I'd say they're well knowledgeable in that aspect. So when you get connected with alumni, it's always good to kind of ask them questions. I'm more than sure they'll give you tips on how they reached to where they're at and resources that would allow you to get there as well. Then, of course, you also have your family and peers. Sometimes I also think it's because you get so caught up in looking through all these different websites and there's just so much going on that you forget that people around you, people you actually speak with on the daily, might even know someone. So it's always good to ask like a friend, like, hey, do you know anyone who likes a specific, field that you're interested in? Like, for example, like I know I'm life and health science, so recently I actually got in touch with an old teacher of mine who worked at a hospital. And I actually have to do an interview based on that. So there's always someone around you who has an opportunity for you. It's just a matter of actually setting time to speak with everyone about that. Okay, so you've already identified your area of interest. You've already looked through all these possible resources, talked to all these people, and you still can't seem to find an internship for you. This is where step 3 kind of comes into place. You become prepared to pivot. And how, you may ask? Well, you start considering different options, different alternatives. There are things like research out there, things like projects and engaged learning that can be done remotely. I know tomorrow actually we have a session on alternatives for virtual internships. So if anyone is interested to know a little bit about these alternatives, because I know there are only 3 listed on here, but there are a lot more. On our session tomorrow at 10 a.m. for Internships Reloaded, they will be discussing internships versus part-time jobs and different alternatives. So I think if anyone is interested in finding out more, they should check it out by registering on Handshake. Okay, so we have our first monster encounter. Our question is, what are the 3 steps to seeking an internship? So if anyone wants to go ahead and volunteer, try to defeat this Demogorgon, they can go ahead and place their answers in the chat box, or if they're comfortable enough to use the mic as well.
Jessica, I'm seeing in the chat UTSA professors being one way to seek an internship.
Okay, yeah, I feel like that one plays into our people and who we can connect with. I think that's one good step of seeking an internship that falls under utilizing resources around you.
And then I'm also seeing identify an area of interest as another step.
That's our first step. You want to make sure you kind of narrow your options by identifying a specific interest that you have.
And then lastly, be ready to pivot.
Yep, that's correct. So our last step, making sure that you have a plan B, of course. So if you can't find any kind of, if you can't find any internship in through all the websites you looked for, or any of the people we spoke to, you go ahead and consider those alternatives. So there you go. Everybody annihilated the Demogorgon.
Great job. You guys are good.
So let's continue. Now we have marketing yourself in this whole new virtual space. So I think a good kind of first step to approach marketing yourself would be self-reflection. So you kind of want to identify the skills you bring to the table by asking yourself things like, what skills did I develop from home? What are some challenges I've encountered and how did I overcome them? So I'd actually like a couple people to volunteer, maybe put in the chat box what skills they feel like they developed from being at home. A good example that I say, for me, I've developed better professionalism throughout this time of working from home. The virtual switch kind of, it led us to move everything to just being at home, which can be kind of frustrating at times. And I know home doesn't really feel professional, but I feel like I was able to adapt well and still continue to build my skills by meeting my deadlines, doing my projects and things like that, and to continue my professional endeavors, even though I was working from home, or I'm continuing to work from home.
May I go ahead? All right. From home, I think I've started to gain a lot of personal skills with time management, organization, and just becoming a self-starter overall. Um, I've definitely gained a better understanding of my own calendar and how to regulate daily activities just that need to be done.
Yeah, I think that's great. Like I mentioned, just being at home is kind of difficult sometimes to find motivation to get things done because you're at home and your bed's like right there. So I think time management and being able to organize your schedule really well is a great skill you could have developed throughout this whole time we've been just at home. So as we talk a little bit about these skills we develop, it kind of leads me to the top 10 qualities that companies look for in an intern. Um, Something I want to mention about this list is how at the bottom, number 10, of course, is relevant work experience. Sometimes I feel like students might feel a little bit discouraged because they're like, well, I don't have any experience. Like, why would they hire me or why would they choose me? Employers know students are searching for internships because they want to gain that experience, they want to gain those skills. So it's always important to kind of realize what skills you do offer for them. Like in this list, there are different qualities from hardworking to fit with organization. You know, we did talk about time management, things like that. So that's always good to keep in mind. Okay, so we have another monster encounter. Our question is, what are 3 traits an employer looks for in an intern? Again, if y'all feel free to answer in the chat box or use your mic if you're comfortable enough.
I think I got it, if I could say.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, according to the previous slide, it would be enthusiasm, hard work, and oh yeah, like Tim said, hunger for position. That's another good one.
Yeah, let's take a look at the list. Yeah, like you said, enthusiasm, hard work, organization, time management, things like that. So there you go. You annihilated the mind flayer. Good job.
Great job. We had a couple more come through the chat too, like flexibility. That was another one that I thought was important too. I think we've all learned a lot of flexibility from being at home.
Okay, so say you've already gone through the process of seeking a virtual internship and you're lucky enough to, obtain this virtual internship. What kind of things can you practice during your time to make sure you maximize your time during this internship? So a couple of things would be making sure you ask questions and you're willing to take on projects. I feel like this bullet point takes a lot with like the quality of being enthusiastic. You're showing employers that you're eager to learn, you're eager to want to gain and work on the skills that you already provide and things like that. Then of course you setting goals and you're sharing them with your supervisor. I think setting goals is really important. Once you begin your internship, you kind of set these goals. So once you reach the end, you can kind of see your progress throughout the time, see all the great things you've done, things you've learned. And of course, when you share them with your supervisor, they are also watching your progress. They're watching what you're doing. So it's always great to kind of sit together at the end and discuss all the things you did, what you can work on, and things like that. Then you have keep track of your activities on the job and what you learn. So this one's really important for once you finish your virtual internship. You don't want to forget like all the good things that you did during this internship. So it's always great to keep track so you can go ahead and place them onto your resume or onto your professional portfolio and things like that. So that's good to keep in mind as well. Then you have be accountable and proactive. So for this one, you want to go ahead and show employers that you're a reliable candidate by making sure you're organized, you're meeting those deadlines, and you're striving to just do your best during this time. Then of course you have networking. I think this one's really important because, like I mentioned, like even after your internship, you want to go ahead and remember all those things you did, the people you spoke to, what those people taught you. So, for example, say you leave this virtual internship and then you have this new opportunity in the future, and a new project arises, and you're like, oh, I remember I did this at my old internship, and I had this great coworker who knew all these great things about that specific topic. If you stay in contact with them, you can go ahead and reach out to them, and I'm sure they'd be able to help in the future as well. So that's always good to keep in mind. Now I know with the whole virtual shift, no one was really taught virtual etiquette. I know it seems kind of odd sometimes because we just went from talking to in person to speaking to a laptop. So I'm going to talk a little bit about virtual etiquette as well. So you want to make sure you're organized and professional. In order to do this, you want to make sure your email address, of course, is your first and last name. You want to keep it appropriate. Then you want to identify your communication method. So for this, I mean, you discuss with your supervisor what's the best way to communicate with one another, whether that's through email, whether that's through Teams, whatever method is best. Just because I know the only way people can kind of communicate these days is, of course, virtually. So you want to make sure you're staying on top of that. Then you have dress appropriately. I know this one might seem kind of odd considering we're at home and we can maybe just lounge around in pajamas all day, but I think it's always a good idea to go ahead and ask if they have a specific dress code or anything like that, or even if they don't, just making sure you're dressed appropriately to show the best version of you. That way you can also make sure you get things done, because I know sometimes if you just lounge around in pajamas, you lose your motivation and things like that. So you just want to be the best version of you. Then of course, when it comes to meetings with supervisors, you want to sit in a quiet space, make sure there are no distractions so you can hear well, and be able to have a clear conversation. You want to make sure it's well lit. You want it to be dark. You want to keep your video on because, like I mentioned, this is our only way of communicating since we kind of lost like the in-person. So making sure you still keep that connection through the video. Then of course you want to demonstrate strong body language during that video. You want to look into the camera. I know sometimes that can be kind of confusing, I can say, because we're not used to staring at a camera because everybody's on the screen. But just making sure we're looking at the camera, of course, smiling, being polite and things like that, speaking clearly and concisely as well. So then we also have skill development. So how can we build our skills virtually? UTSA does provide resources. I know one would be Student Leadership Academy. In our office, in our UCC office, I've actually started a student professional development where I've collaborated with the Student Leadership Academy, where we provide workshops to our students, workshops that range from interpersonal communication to learning how to organize an event, team building and things like that. They're really great workshops, they're really interactive. I really suggest everyone to go and check those out. You can find them on RaddyLink if you just type in Student Leadership Academy and they'll appear on there. So if anyone's interested, I suggest y'all register for those events. Then of course you have LinkedIn Learning, and then our Roadrunner network. This one's actually fairly new. It can be found on our career website. For Roadrunner network, like I mentioned before, networking is something that's important. And our Roadrunner network is used to kind of connect with our UTSA alumni. They actually like this. What this platform is used as like a mentorship kind of. They'll post like different job postings, internship experiences that are available to students, tips and things like that. So I suggest that everyone checks this one out if they're interested in finding a little bit more about a specific opportunity. Okay, so we have another monster encounter. Our question is, what are a few of the best virtual internship practices? Does anyone want to go ahead and give that a try?
I'm getting a couple come through the chat. One is asking questions, taking on projects, staying engaged and showing your camera, being accountable, being proactive about taking on projects and networking. Great stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, another one, taking notes on what you've learned and accomplished and setting goals.
Yeah, these are all great. They're all actually what I've listed here and what I've kind of discussed. Like in the chat box, everybody mentioned, be willing to take on projects. You're asking those questions, being accountable, making sure you're setting these goals. Our virtual etiquette. I know someone mentioned having your video camera on, and networking as well. So great job, guys. We annihilated another monster. So now I feel like we've kind of completed this virtual guide. A few takeaways that I hope everyone takes from this presentation is, of course, I discussed virtualship search avenues. So, those different websites like Handshake, Internship Way, as well as people around you, our UTSA alumni, our career counselors, our professors, our family and friends as well. Then, of course, when you're thinking about how you can market yourself competitively is, doing that self-reflection, considering what kind of skills you're bringing to the table, what skills you've developed, what skills you can work on, and things like that. Then, of course, I talked about best practices for virtual internship. Like everyone answered in the question before, making sure you're answering questions, you're asking questions, you're taking on those projects, you're doing your networking, setting goals, and things like that. If no one would mind, I'd actually want to know what you guys will take from this presentation and hope to implement in the future for yourselves.
And while you guys are adding that in the chat, I just wanted to add one more thing. Jessica has some great content today about thinking about what you've gained while working from home. And this is going to be huge. Thank you. I think it was Nathan who shared what you have learned about working from home or skills you've identified. And if you ever need help articulating those or writing them on your resume or explaining them on your resume or during interviews, the Career Center is here to help as well. And so we may all be virtual, but we still are assisting students virtually. So if you go onto Handshake, you can schedule an appointment with us. We also have virtual walk-ins. We say walk-ins, but they're virtual. So you can log in Tuesdays and Wednesdays from 3 to 6 and stop by with a resume and get feedback on the spot. So we do anything from resume review, cover letter assistance, interviewing, prep, because when you do apply for these virtual internships, that's going to be part of the process, right? You want to be competitive. You want to have a great set of application materials to submit, and then you want to be ready for that interview, right? So all of those things, you're not alone. We're here to help along the way as well. So remember us and come see us. We want to connect with you. So you guys can go ahead and share. Sorry, Jessica, I kind of jumped in there, but you guys can go ahead and share your takeaways, things that you want to do as a result of today's session, and maybe some new things that you learned.
I think I have some input here. Well, I definitely have a burning desire to polish my resume now because it is quite rough. So I'll definitely take up the Career Center's offer on that. But other than that, I just enjoyed the great tips and advice overall.
Thank you for sharing, Emerson. Definitely come see us. All right, any others? What other takeaways did you guys have? Maybe that you're going to go watch Stranger Things after this?
No, I definitely am. But I would also just say, like you guys did a great job. There's definitely not a lot of content out here right now to kind of help us like navigate just figure out like the virtual process for getting an internship. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it.
We have another takeaway coming in through the chat. A great takeaway from this for me would be there are plenty of resources available to help us.
Yeah, that's something we really wanted to emphasize to everyone, especially during this time, because even though you may not be able to personally walk into our office, we still want to remind everyone that we're still here, even if it is, virtually.
And I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this or not, but each college has a career counselor that's dedicated to that college. So if you're, for example, College of Science, we have a College of Science counselor that could assist with where to start looking for internships in your field, or maybe it's research opportunities that you want to pursue. So there's a person for each one of you. So if you go on to Handshake, it'll give you a list of who's available to meet with you. But I will say, sometimes virtual internships can sound a little overwhelming, like, oh my goodness, now I have to learn a whole new way of getting experience. But the benefit is that you may do an internship now that you might not have been able to do because of distance, may have been a barrier before. So we have students that are doing internships in other countries or in other states because you can work from anywhere, right? If it's virtual. So there may be opportunities out there that they're no longer out of range for you, basically. Sky's the limit now, right? That's what the virtual space does for us. So I'm curious for you guys, what are some questions that you all have about virtual internships that you came in with today that we might have not answered?
I think I have a question, and maybe some other people in the meeting will resonate with me here. So, what's the best way to, I guess, accumulate experience so that you can put it on a resume in the first place? For those that like lack any experience or have very little experience at all.
Great question, Emerson. So I don't know if anyone wants to answer this, but I'll hop right in. So if you don't have any experience at all, there's a couple resources that UTSA has available to you as a student for free. And one of them that sometimes I don't think we're aware of is LinkedIn Learning. I know we think of LinkedIn where you can have a professional profile and tell employers what you have done so far, but there's also a training side of it where you can take different, like there's an Excel course that you can take on LinkedIn Learning. There's a communication course. All of those skills that you take with you in whatever job that you do, those are some training and development that you can show on a resume. Like I've done these types of trainings. And that's just one place. So you can do professional development virtually because now you're finding a lot of these virtual professional developments for free, right? You don't have to pay for them. LinkedIn Learning being one of them. You have an account just because you're a UTSA student. So that's one of them. I know Jessica also mentioned the Student Leadership Academy. That's another way to gain experience and show like I'm taking initiative. I'm learning more about communication. I'm learning more about teamwork. I'm learning more about myself so that I can tell you all of the things that I can do. Or what about projects? You can add class projects that you've done. That can go on your resume. Part-time jobs. There's a lot of, and we're going to talk tomorrow about skills that you gain in part-time job that you can use as experience. Someone mentioned in the chat volunteering. Doing volunteer work, there's now virtual volunteer experiences. That counts as experience on your resume too. Maybe there's student organizations on campus that align with your area of interest, being involved in student organization. That's experience. So there's a lot of like smaller things that you can do to build your resume, as you mentioned. Or think of like steps to get involved. Lastly, I won't continue on and on, but micro internships is another great way. If you look on our website under internships, those are projects. So you can get hired by a company to complete a project and you get paid. And it's it's called a micro internship. It's not a whole semester of internship, but it's projects. So we're in the gig economy now, right? All these side jobs. So there's places that you can accrue experience along the way like that. So project based.
Okay.
Just to
Thank
name
you.
a few, but we could keep going, Emerson.
No, that was very comprehensive. Thank you. That was very helpful.
Are there any more questions anybody had? Are we good? Okay. So a reminder I just want everyone to know about is that we will be having another stranger internship session later today at 5 p.m. where NSA will come and present a little bit more about virtual internships and kind of how agencies are working around like this whole new virtual change that we have. It's really exciting. I think it's a really great opportunity for everyone. So I really suggest that y'all come and check it out later today. Okay, so now we're kind of exiting the upside down. I want to thank everyone who joined us today. I hope y'all are able to take, at least some piece of knowledge from this that will help you guys in your journey for searching for virtual internships.
And thank you, Jessica. I just want to give a round of applause. So I want to brag on Jessica a little bit. Jessica works in the University Career Center, and she's experiencing this right now. So she's not speaking just from someone who told her, but all of this presentation is from her experience in a virtual internship. And I'm her supervisor. So she's done an excellent job. A lot of these things she's putting into practice, and I'm confident that she's going to take them with her into the next positions that she goes into. So this is straight from another student's perspective and experience. So thank you so much, Jessica, for sharing your knowledge with us today and making it really fun. I don't know about you guys, but I love Stranger Things. And so it's true, internships can feel a little strange right now. And so we're excited to have this information and this content. And I do want to put a plug in for the rest of the week. We'd love to see you come out for our other internship sessions. And I will tell you this, every evening at 5 p.m., a new federal agency is going to come and talk about internships. And those sessions are not recorded just because the nature of federal agencies and their requirements. So you don't want to miss it. So come see us tonight at 5. We will be excited to host once again. So thank you all. We'll be here a couple more minutes if anyone has questions. But if not, don't forget to put your ABC 123 in the chat, and we will gladly send you a copy of this recorded session today. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.